morning, history junkies, and welcome to the Literature Lovers podcast series, where we analyze different texts and novels throughout history. Today, we will be discussing the theme of social hierarchies in society.
That's right. Our discussion will be centered around the social climate in which famous Sappho lived. She would have experienced firsthand the ancient Greek social hierarchy that we will be analyzing today.
So, what exactly is a social hierarchy? According to Jim Satanis and Felicia Prado and their social dominance theory, social hierarchies are broadly defined as systems of social organization in which some individuals enjoy a higher social status than others. Many societies experience this division, including our own. Today, however, we'll be analyzing social hierarchies in ancient Greece.
Before we begin, though, let's hear from our sponsors.
Do you enjoy learning about ancient Greek history? Do you want exclusive insider information on how historical stories were written and influenced? The novel History Stories 101, Greek edition, is the perfect fit for you. For the low price of $29.99, you'll get hard copy text access to over 10 different authors' unique stories, including Homer, Sappho, and Aesop. Buy your own today from select retailers like Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com.
Ever find yourself stuck in the traffic, listening to the same song or even the same podcast? Have you ever wanted to change your daily listening habits? Now introducing the entirely historic radio channel, WYX 105.9. Available for free through Sirius XM. This channel includes historic music, facts, stories, and features from podcast hosts, including the literature lovers. More information on how to subscribe and tune into our channels is found on our website, wyx1059.com.
Let's talk a bit about how our discussion of the Greek social hierarchy relates to Sappho. Sappho was a famous poetess who lived from 570 BC to 630 BC on the island of Lesbos. The book, Stung with Love, is a collection of her surviving works. Sappho would write beautiful poems with varying themes, ranging from love to despair to death, and she would often set her poems to music. She also was heavily influenced by polytheistic religion of the Greeks, often referring to or directly calling upon Greek gods and goddesses. Much of her poems were either lost or only exist today as fragments, but they still have a great impact on readers today.
So how does Sappho relate to social classes? Since Sappho lived on a Greek island of Lesbos, she would have been very familiar and even impacted by the social hierarchy. In fact, she herself was born into an aristocratic family, so she most likely reaped the benefits of an unequal social hierarchy in Greek society. In this group interview coming up next, we discuss exactly how the society of ancient Greece was arranged and compare how each social class was treated.
Now, let's jump right into our discussion. Today, I will be interviewing 4 scholars about each of the 4 social classes of ancient Greece. Let's start with the upper class. Could you tell me a bit about who would have been in this class and their characteristics?
Of course, the upper class was at the very top of ancient Greece's social hierarchy. It consisted of wealthy Greek men with substantial social influence. These aristocrats would not engage in commercial or manufacturing activities, such as trading, as they believed it would lower their reputation. Instead, they would invest in cultural capital, which could include education, clothes, manners, and other things that would increase their social standing. A popular practice among the elite was paying for liturgies, which was the use of personal funds to pay for public projects. This would help a wealthy person gain greater social status by spending money than his rivals. Overall, the ancient Greek upper class held the most power in society.
Thank you so much. Next up is the middle class. Could you please give us an overview of this social class?
Absolutely. The second class in the ancient Greek social hierarchy was the middle class, also known as the Medics. The people of this class were not native to Athens, but came to Athens to settle down and earn their livelihood. As for occupations, they were mostly involved in trading and manufacturing related jobs. They were contractors, merchants, managers, manufacturers, tradesmen, artists, and craftsmen. The ceramic work of Greece was handled entirely by the members of this class. Even though the Medics were free men, they possessed much fewer rights compared to the powerful upper class. They could not vote, buy land, or marry someone in the family of citizens. They were also not allowed to get a citizenship. Overall, the middle class had better social status than most, but did not have as many rights as the upper class.
Thank you so much again. Now let's hear about the lower class. Could you give us an outline of this social class, please?
Of course, the lower class, also known as the freedman, was a third class in the ancient Greek social hierarchy. The lower class included those who were once enslaved and somehow were able to be free. They could gain that freedom by paying a ransom, or sometimes their enslaver would let them free. This lower class was never granted citizenship, regardless of how much money they made. These individuals had the fewest privilege, yet still had many more compared to the enslaved, who had none. Most of the time, they were able to live with their families, as they usually made deals with their employer, providing the farm owner a portion of their harvest and keeping the remainder for themselves.
Thank you. And lastly, we have the slave class. Could you please tell us a little bit more about this social class?
I sure can. The slave class was the lowest class in the ancient Greek social structure. Enslaved people did not have any human or civil rights. They were frequently tortured for various reasons. Their enslavers would beat them anytime they felt like it, and whenever enslaved people had to testify in a lawsuit, they were tortured into confessing to their own guilt or to incriminating someone else. In his book Politics, Aristotle classified enslaved people into two distinct groups: slaves by nature and slaves by law. Members of the slaves by nature group were born into captivity, while members of the slaves by law group were captured as a result of war or looting. Otherwise, they were free humans that became enslaved as a result of coincidence. Philosoph- Philosophers such as Aristotle actually came up with the arguments that enslaved people were inherently inferior, a product of their environment and characteristics. The Greeks were persuaded that they themselves had the best environment and characteristics and were therefore the ones who were meant to rule. Overall, the slave class had by far the worst treatment out of all the classes, being denied basic rights and exploited by others.
Thank you so much for that information. Wow, that was so insightful hearing about the social hierarchy in ancient Greece.
Right? I couldn't believe how differently people were treated in that society. Anyways, we had a great time discussing the theme of social hierarchies and hope you had a great time too. In recap, today we analyzed and synthesized the element of social hierarchies, which would have impacted the works of Stung with Love by Greek poetess Sappho. Thank you for listening to today on the Literature Lovers podcast series. We hope to have you back next week.